Welcome to Awesome Movie Year, the podcast where we take a look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year. I'm Josh Bell, film critic and writer, and I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Jason Harris, filmmaker, comedian, and do you want the easy intro or the hard intro right here, guys?
I'm just going to take the easy one, really.
Yeah, good choice.
Filmmaker, comedian, and janitor who watches you from across the hall, your every move.
One inexplicable element, or maybe not, of this movie that we are about to discuss in this season of Awesome Movie Year, we're talking about the films of 2014, and we are here at our foreign film pick, which is Force Majeure from Swedish filmmaker Ruben Östlund, the breakthrough film internationally for Ruben Östlund, who had made 3 previous films in Sweden, but this one achieved massive international acclaim and success and really catapulted him into this whole new level where he is currently, but was able to get for his next films. And should that have happened?
He's become a major force in the filmmaking world.
Yeah, that's not quite the direct translation of that.
No,
right?
I know what a force majeure is. It's an
Right.
act of nature, so that way, if a disaster happens, you can't hold any party liable for whatever damages it causes.
Yeah, it's a legal term. The Swedish title of this film, though, is just the Swedish word for tourist, which seems a little bland, but
What
maybe
is
it
the
has
word?
tourist. I
Tourist,
think.
yeah.
Tourist?
Yeah,
You
there you go. That's better.
tourist?
Got to say it like
Yeah.
the Swedish chef.
Well,
But,
no, Josh, I didn't do that because I'm not racist, unlike you, but that's fine.
I wonder if it maybe has a double meaning of some kind in Swedish that it does not have in other languages, and that's why they give it a different international title. But either way, a successful international film. It premiered at the 2014 Cannes Film Festival and won the jury prize in the Un Certain Regard section.
Oh, that's an accent.
Yeah,
Mm.
at the Cannes Film Festival. It grossed $4.1 million worldwide on, I'm not sure what the budget is. It's hard to find budget figures for these kinds of films, but that's still, I mean, having watched it, a pretty decent number for a movie that, whether you like it or you don't like it, is a challenge to watch at times, I think.
Yeah, I got a bone to pick with you folks at the Cannes Film Festival, okay? Stop giving this guy prizes. You're encouraging him too much. I'm not here for it. He's got 2 Palme d'Ors for 2.5-hour movies that could easily be an hour and 45 minutes each. You knock it off at Cannes, okay? And Östlund, you tighten it up a little.
Well, as we discussed a few episodes ago, they do love the long movies. The Palme d'Or at Cannes, of course, while this won the jury prize in Un Certain Regard, the Palme d'Or went to Winter Sleep, which we discussed, and is
Where's
longer.
your Turkish accent?
No, not happening. But Cannes is not the only institution encouraging Ruben Östlund. This was the Swedish submission for the Best Foreign Language Film Oscar, although it was not nominated at the Oscars. It was, however, nominated for the Best Foreign Film or equivalent award at the Golden Globes, the BAFTAs, and the Independent Spirit Awards. It was given tons and tons of critics groups awards regionally. It won 6 awards, including Best Film at the Guldbagge Awards, which is the top film awards in Sweden. So not only internationally, but in his native country, he's highly acclaimed. So awesome movie year. The only entity that's not going to be falling all over ourselves to praise this film, it seems like.
1, Guldbagge, sure. 2, okay, I can see that. But 6, wow, you have really shown me just what it is you mean to me and what it is I mean to you.
Really, really doing the accent work here in this episode, Jason.
Ruben Östlund impression. Throw it up there with the Bruno S.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we've never heard him speak, so we don't know if that's a successful impression or not.
My guess is not at all.
Yeah, that's a good guess. I think that's a smart guess to make. This was inspired in part by Ruben Östlund's early experience before making feature films, making ski videos, much like Spike Jonze starting out making skate videos. And he put some of that experience to use here, as well as inspiration from viral videos of people having meltdowns about various things. So those things all sound kind of like populist and goofy and maybe exciting, and none of which applies to this film.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it, dude. Like, I like his concepts in everything that he does, but execution wise, like, I told you this, and I put it on the Letterboxd. Go for Jason. I don't need to plug it because you all already follow it over there. No filmmaker wears me out more than this guy. He's talented. There are times I laugh. His characters are well drawn, but dude, chill out.
Well, I think wearing you out or wearing you down is what he's aiming for here. And
It's very Von Trierian of him, Josh.
Yeah. I mean, Lars von Trier, Michael Haneke are other filmmakers I think that he's compared to. I think he's less punishing than those, in the sense of the movies are not quite as dark and violent and brutal, but punishing in that it is right. It's just kind of wearing you out. And then there's a coldness to it. Not only the fact that they're in the Alps here, but the emotional coldness. And it just kind of wears on you. I feel like it's like watching a cringe comedy, but there's no comedy.
It's just a cringe movie.
It's just a cringe movie. Yeah.
I mean, it didn't make me cringe at all, but it was just like you're saying, like, I really thought like the last hour of this thing was like a 3-hour movie or something like that. I'm confused.
I felt that way about the first hour also. So we should say the concept of this film, we have a nice kind of upper middle class Swedish family on vacation in the French Alps to go skiing. And there is an incident while they are eating lunch at an outdoor restaurant where a controlled avalanche comes down, and it looks for a moment like it's actually going to hit the restaurant and hurt people. And in that moment, the husband and father runs away, leaving the family behind. And the mother is left there to try to kind of shield the kids. And it turns out that everything is fine. It was a controlled avalanche. It's just sort of like mist from it that covers this balcony. But afterwards, things are not the same in this marriage.
Because it's a controlled avalanche, is that even a force majeure? That's not a force majeure.
I guess not. Maybe they don't argue the legal definition of that in this film. But yes, you could argue, I suppose, that it's not an act of God or a natural disaster of any kind, because it was planned and it was always safe. Although I would think that if that really happened, and I don't know, maybe because it's inspired by viral videos, maybe that is something that has really happened, like controlled or not, that should not, your maintenance of your ski lodge should not freak out your customers like that.
Yeah. These people at the ski lodges or on the giant yachts or in the fine arts museums, they're always freaking out about something in these Östlund movies, Josh.
Yeah. Lots of freakouts going on, but very like quiet, internal freakouts, I think.
For a while.
Yeah.
Until homeboy just cries.
That's true. He does really let it out there later in the film. So again, we're maybe not super enthused, but in general, aside from all those awards, critics were also really positive about this film. It has a 94% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Anne Hornaday in the Washington Post said, Swedish filmmaker Ruben Östlund puts marriage under a squirm-inducing microscope in Force Majeure, a stylish, acutely observant psychodrama that changes tone so deftly between social comedy of manners and mournful meditation on gender roles that the viewer isn't quite sure whether to laugh or sigh. Östlund maintains a scrupulous air of suspense, navigating the dips and turns in Tomas and Ebba's relationship, as well as the way their situation affects two couples they befriend at the resort, in carefully calibrated exchanges on the slopes, in the couple's hotel room, or in furtive exchanges in the hallway. Even after Tomas and Ebba have figured a way out from under the microscope, Force Majeure leaves the audience squirming in all the very best ways.
You know who I was thinking about, Josh? I was thinking about Nicole Holofcener when I was watching this, because it's like, hey, here's an incident that's kind of small, or in this case, bigger than small, but it's a single incident that kind of propels the emotional journey of the whole thing. And I love that stuff like that. And that's why I was like, this first hour I was kind of into, and then it just, like I said, there is no tightness. There's all these kind of loose threads that, in some ways he ties up, but some ways I'm like, I don't care about it. And I don't mind that in movies a lot of the time, but I just think, like I said, it wore me down. So again, this goes back to execution for me, because I do like this style of like, oh, you told me you weren't bringing potato salad to the dinner party, so I brought potato salad, then you brought potato salad, now we're going to have an existential argument over what it means to our relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think theoretically that does sound maybe not your potato salad movie, but the idea in general.
That's what it's called.
And I love Nicole Holofcener, as I'm sure we've discussed. And You Hurt My Feelings is the specific movie that you're referring to, which it does also pivot on, right, what seems like this kind of small incident that festers among these characters. But that's a much warmer film. It feels like a more lived in, it's got more overt comedy, maybe. And this is going for a different style, but I agree that works much better. And I didn't feel engaged with these characters in any way.
I mean, the only pushback I'll give you is the comedy. I do think Östlund has a funny streak in him, and there's some very funny scenes in this and also in Triangle of Sadness and The Square. But it's just that the comedy sometimes gets lost because it's under all this angst, storm and drang, and it just keeps going. And it's a little on the nose in that regard.
Oh yeah, it's very, very on the nose. I mean, and I think, like we said, where you're complaining that he wears you down, I think that would be something that he would say, yes, that's the point here. And I think being on the nose is kind of also the point, because it's like that bluntness and that confronting you with something is what he's aiming for. And I agree, it's really tiresome. And you get the point. I think, because I'd seen this movie before, and I think like 20 minutes in, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I get what this is. I could turn this off now, and I would remember, I would know exactly what he was doing with it. And then it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, so you haven't seen The Square, I know, right?
No.
I watched that, and I mean, I've seen Triangle of Sadness before, so I watched 3. After this, I watched The Square, which is a half hour longer, and I was like, what am I doing to myself? Why do I hate myself so much?
And I feel like, again, that would probably be a reaction that he would approve of.
Yeah.
So Peter Bradshaw in The Guardian said, Ruben Östlund's icily disturbing family drama set in an upscale ski resort in the French Alps is a disaster movie without a disaster. Or it could be that the disaster, like the death of Schrodinger's cat, both happens and does not happen. Actually, the non-disaster is more catastrophic, revealing to its participants their true nature and true situation, but withholding from them the drama and catharsis of outright tragedy. Safety and comfort are concepts civilized societies have invented to protect themselves from self-knowledge, not physical harm. And perhaps even our most basic conventions are no more than a rickety rope bridge or a clanking ski lift. If we glance down at the abyss below, we are lost.
You use a word like abyss. I would like you to use it in Werner Herzogian style, please. So
I think we've had enough foreign accents thus far.
Not enough episode. Werner Herzog. Why
do
you say that, Josh? I am here looking at the chasm known as the abyss, known as force majeure. I don't know, man. I get it. It looks nice.
Yeah, sure, it does.
I mean, like, I don't want to just repeat myself. It's just, to me, a mishap in execution. But like you said, it's got 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. They've remade it downhill, the American version. So what is it that people are responding to that we're not responding to?
Yeah, I mean, I think they find, the idea of the exploration of gender roles came up in a bunch of reviews that I looked at. I didn't want to just repeat it, but that's certainly something, the fragile nature of masculinity here with Tomas, where he can't, not only does he run away, but then he won't admit that he ran away because, of course, that's not like what you're supposed to do as a man or as a father or a husband, whatever. And sure, that's interesting. That's something. But I feel like I got it very quickly. It's not super complicated. And I don't think these characters have a lot of depth, which is also maybe sort of the point because they're more archetypes than people. But yeah, so I mean, I think that idea, the gender roles, I think there's maybe the tension in the scenes, which I didn't really feel very much, but people are engrossed by that. I don't know. The ski lodge does look great, as you said.
He's a very capable filmmaker. We don't want to knock that. I think there's the element of the eat the rich here. People like seeing, and in a lot of his movies, like, rich people suffering, people like that.
Right. I mean, Triangle of Sadness is a lot more of that, but
yeah, and The Square also. Dave, have you seen The Square?
I have. I really like both of those other movies, but yeah. So I was really looking forward to this because I had never gotten a chance to see it, and yeah, I agree with both of you guys. It's just so drawn out. It's just the whole time I'm like, why am I watching this?
For this podcast,
for awesome
Dave,
movie here. That's why
you sacrifice for us
an existential crisis, which is exactly what I'm aiming for. I've made him Bjork now.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say, sounds a little bit like Flula Borg there too. So
Flula Borg,
the German comedian, he always plays like wacky German guy in American movies. You'd know him if you saw him.
Yeah, the Germans are known for their wackiness.
Yeah. So I did get a dissenting voice then. I wanted to, find at least one critic who wasn't as into this film. So Richard Brody in The New Yorker said, Östlund presents the members of the nuclear family as stereotypes. He finds glimmers of psychological depth only in supporting characters, including a sexually uninhibited woman whom Ebba meets at the resort and a divorced man who's traveling with his 20-year-old girlfriend. Little but the children's fear of their parents' separation has any dramatic weight. Östlund's crisp, repressed direction is itself a stereotype, and his teasing script and convenient resolutions offer only superficial ironies. A peculiarly haunting ending offers more mystery and curiosity in a single shot than does the entire story that precedes it.
I'm glad that was brought up. I actually like that side character. Was it Mats? Was that his name?
Yeah, the bearded guy. Yes.
Yeah. Who we know from Game of Thrones. But he was the most interesting character to me, even though we only got glimpses of him. I did think Ebba had some depth to her, but I thought that side story had as much going for it as the main story, but we only got little bits of it. And part of me was like, well, we should focus more on that. And part of me was like, I don't need any of this.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it either should have been more substantial or not there at all, because we get like one or two major scenes with them away from the central couple. But then it just kind of, I think Mats appears one more time when he's going skiing with Tomas, but it's more back to the central characters and the central storyline. Yeah, and I think that idea, and I can't think of an example right now, but I think the idea of like this couple's sense of their own being settled or whatever is shaken by discussing the problems of another couple is a storytelling device that's come up in other films and can be interesting. And that's kind of what we get, right? They learn about what happened between Ebba and Tomas, and that leads to them having an argument, not about anything that they did, but about what they would do or might do in a similar situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a really interesting framework for a story. And I think that scene where Ebba kind of tells them everything Tomas did and why she's so angry was an interesting scene, especially because they're, obviously Mats is like Tomas's best friend. So he's like trying to reason out why he would act like that. And I think the fallout of that with his like 20-year-old girlfriend being like, dude, you're on vacation with me. Why aren't you taking care of your kids? Like, is like interesting. But like you're saying, we just get a sprinkle of that in that where it could have sustained its own thing. I know they've done a play of this, like on stage play. And I wonder if they would explore that or those other side characters anymore in the stage play, because it would lend itself to that.
I don't think so. We might talk about this later, but I read the Guardian review of the play, which sounds like it was a giant failure. and does not seem to explore any other ideas of any interest, unfortunately.
Well, then everything I said is irrelevant.
No, I mean your sense of what that storyline is makes perfect sense. But I think I didn't care that much about that couple. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, this is really interesting, I want more of it. It was more like, well, this could be interesting if this was handled in a different way, but I still don't really care about it. And it didn't bother me when it was like, okay, I guess we're not seeing these people anymore.
Yeah. Poor Mats and that beautiful beard.
Yeah. Mats seems to be doing okay because unlike Ebba and Tomas, who, well, I guess by the end maybe they've moved past it, but Mats and his girlfriend seem to get past things more quickly by the time they wake up the next day.
In my mind, they get past it, but she's going to bring it up again in 2 weeks. And I'm not saying that as like a negative because he really just kept like messing up instead of just being like, dude, I panicked. I don't know what, I lost my train of thought. I should have definitely not done that. And then just take the heat and then move on with your life. Right. You know, so I don't blame her if she's like, you've become a pussy boy. I must divorce you now, pussy boy.
That is not the dialogue I would expect, but you never know. Maybe Jason will make Force Majeure 2 and take
Force or Majeure.
That's a good title for it.
Thank you.
So
he's very supportive, Dave.
I'm trying. I want us to have a better relationship than Tomas and Ebba in this film. So Jason, you had not seen this before, but you had seen Triangle of Sadness, so you're familiar a bit with him.
Yeah, definitely. And this has been on my list for a long time, and it's not anymore.
Well, you watched it. Even if you had liked it, you could have taken it off the list.
So, and I think, I don't know, maybe The Square's the best of the bunch of those three, but dude, like, bro, I got a challenge for you. Make a 94-minute movie, buddy. So,
yeah, we'll see. Just reading the cast list of his upcoming movie, there's no way it's going to be 94 minutes and actually get all those people in. So,
well, we'll talk about that movie. But when I heard the premise of it, I thought this is the best chance to succeed in the most Ostlandian way. It actually sounds like a perfect vehicle for him if he can execute it well.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that. But I had seen this. I mean, this was a highly acclaimed film when it came out, and it was one I'm pretty sure that I watched as a year-end catch-up type thing and was pretty underwhelmed. I mean, at the time that it was getting huge amounts of praise, I thought it didn't do it for me. I liked it even less this time. And so I opted not to watch The Square. Unlike you, Jason, I thought, I'm not going to put myself through that. I am not going to do that. And Triangle of Sadness, which was even more hugely acclaimed, which it seems like both of you guys liked. I didn't like that at all either when that came out. So I am very anti-Östlund here.
I think my Triangle of Sadness review is 2.5 stars in that, like, whatever's good about it gets lost with all the other crap in there. So.
I would agree. So, but Dave, you're more enthused overall.
Yeah, I think I actually had Triangle of Sadness on my top 10, and you guys were both just bewildered by that. But yeah, no, I really like that one. I like The Square. I used to ski back in high school, so I always wanted to see this movie. But yeah, like I said, this is the kind of movie I would like. Like, I love the ideas that it kind of sets up, but then it just meanders and just does absolutely nothing with any of it. Just like you guys have been saying. I mean, it just kind of just happens for 2 hours,
Update, guys. I gave Triangle of Sadness 3.5 stars, and that seems way over what I thought it was. So.
Yeah, I thought I remembered being the one dissenting voice on Triangle of Sadness. But Dave, I'm also surprised that you could like that. And I mean, I haven't seen The Square, but it sounds like his films are all very similar, that you would dislike this one so much if you like those others.
Yeah, and I do find that strange too, because that's why I went into this expecting to really like it. This was actually one of the ones on our schedule for the season where I was like, oh yes, finally going to get to this movie. And yeah, I just felt the absurdity of it all was much more on display, especially in Triangle of Sadness, which is my favorite of those three. I know he has a lot of other movies, but of those three, and in this one, it just, none of that ever actually comes up. It's just all kind of under the surface, and it's like I get it, and I like the ideas. They're still there. It's just nothing really happens with any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and but then I thought with Triangle of Sadness that it was just like on the nose so much, like Jason
It's
was
super on the
describing.
nose. I do think that's a big part of his draw. Like, and obviously that's not going to be for everybody, but he is extremely on the nose with everything he does. And I think that's just part of his whole shtick, basically.
That it is.
Yeah, when we talked about Lars von Trier, like, I mean, I love Melancholia. I think that's the one of that where it's like, whoa, but I mean, he's a lot on the nose too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, I think for me, as I'm sure talked about in that episode, like there are Lars von Trier movies that I think are great and brilliant, and others that just wear me down in not a good way. And I like Michael Haneke a lot. I mean, there's a lot of his films I haven't seen, but the ones I have, I do find really impressive and really engrossing, if difficult to watch. But Östlund just to me is not operating on that same level.
I mean, yeah, so we covered a more obviously from Haneke, and I mentioned Melancholia. And I mean, those you look in Östlund's defense, you could say those are two kind of masterpieces of this last century. But yeah, he's definitely not hitting the level of those two films.
No, or those filmmakers' bodies of work in general. I really don't think. So
can you believe Dave used to ski?
I mean, I guess I could see that.
Yeah, I know. It's really strange. The pictures of me, I'm just this little chubby munchkin.
Oh, like when you were a kid, not like as an adult.
Yeah, from a kid up until probably like, I don't know, 16 or something like that, 17.
Can you put some of those on our like Facebook page?
You got it.
Or Instagram? Our Instagram's terrible, but if we start putting pictures,
I think it would be hilarious if we've never posted.
Amazing.
We've
Nothing
never
except
posted
that.
anything. Yeah, the first Instagram post ever is a picture of child Dave skiing.
And then we could get a video of child Dave saying, "What are you going to get a divorce from mommy, daddy?"
Jason, anything else you want to say about the background of this film?
Well, that was my impression of Harry the boy. One thing I've noticed about Östlund movies is he loves having kids cry in films. This guy is making kids cry. Josh, if anyone could find joy in that, it's you.
Yeah, I mean, the kids did cry, but as you were saying earlier, really the kids crying pales in comparison to the manly wail of Tomas that just goes on and on and on and on in that one scene.
That was going to be my intro. If you had picked the hard intro, I was going to give you the full cry, guys.
I'm glad that we avoided that. We'll come back and talk more of our general thoughts on Force Majeure. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 2014, we have been talking about Ruben Östlund's Force Majeure. And I feel like we've gone over a lot of our complaints here already. This is kind of a one-note movie, and I feel like we're maybe one-note critics of it because we all have sort of the same difficulties with what it's doing. Jason, I feel like you gave this the highest rating, though, of us. Is there any strengths that you want to point out that we haven't talked about?
First of all, dude, it looks great. The location, we talk about this all the time. Hey, he got a really cool location, but look at how he utilizes it. It looks really, really good. I was really into that aspect of it. I like that lodge too. It's such a unique, Triangle of Sadness would be a good comparison because of the super yachts or whatnot. But so I love the way it looks. Like I said, I was into this thing for the first hour. I thought it was funny. I thought that their conflict made sense. I liked that she was putting his feet to the fire. But at some point, it just becomes repetitive in that he can only deny it for so long. You know what I mean? The side characters didn't, there's the one lady who's in like an open relationship. That didn't do much for me. I liked Mats and his, kind of... I don't know if it's a girlfriend or just a fling or whatever, the younger lady. I thought that was an interesting dynamic. So it had a lot of elements going for it. It just didn't, the sum was not greater than the parts in this one.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the repetitiveness of it, again, is part of the point, but it does really wear on you. And there's two separate scenes where Ebba kind of recounts what happened to people that they're spending time with. We have the longer scene that we were talking about where they're hanging out with Mats and his girlfriend, and obviously this has been planned that he'll come meet them there. He's Tomas's friend. They've known him forever. And so she kind of goes into a long account there of what happened and how she feels about it. But we've already seen her tell this other woman, the woman in the open relationship, who she's just kind of befriended at the resort. And then they go out to dinner with her and this American guy played by Brady Corbet, filmmaker of The Brutalist, who that she's just met. And Ebba tells them the story too. So it's like, we already get it. She's so shaken by this that she has to just tell everyone, but we have to, and we've seen it happen too. We know what went on. We don't need her to tell us, and we have to go through it again and again.
Brady Corbet was good. That was really fun for me. I liked seeing him, and obviously I think he's on a different trajectory now, but he's a solid actor right there. That was good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot to do, but he was fine, and he did start out as an actor in a lot of stuff before shifting to filmmaking. And I think, does he still act? Maybe not, but he definitely did a lot of that.
Yeah, to reference another podcast that Dave and I listened to, The Big Picture, when they were doing the Brutalist episode, they had kind of brought up the point of like, was he almost like cherry picking and curating the directors that he worked with? If you look at his style and like some of the kind of cool directors that he worked with, obviously it plays into it. I love The Brutalist, which is what this podcast is about.
And I actually haven't seen The Brutalist, but I mean, I think, right, Brady Corbet is in the Funny Games American version that, of course, Michael Haneke directed. So
yeah,
he's working with people like that. And maybe the Brutalist is similarly punishing.
Well, Dave, you saw The Brutalist, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, this was not in the plans. This wasn't on the outline that we all worked on together. But The Brutalist is, again, like, I'm not going to say it's an Eat the Rich, but it's a movie about rich people, their resources, how they're able to utilize them, prejudices against people, which you see in Östlund movies. And it's way longer than Östlund movies, and it's so much better.
Well, give Östlund a chance. Maybe his new movie will be 4 hours long.
I do feel like I said, the new movies, that's my big hope for him, Josh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did want to get back, though, to the woman in the open relationship, because one scene I found kind of interesting where I was like, oh, this is exploring a slightly different aspect of what's going on, is that on her day of kind of skiing on her own, Ebba goes to the lodge or lounge or whatever and hangs out with this woman who she's befriended. And she's asking her about the open relationship that she's in. And this woman is very like chill and like, yeah, we do this and it's great and I'm happy with it and my husband's happy with it. And Ebba is just like extremely judgmental and seems to be like trying to push her to like admit that she's unhappy or that this isn't workable or whatever. And I thought, okay, this is showing a different side of, even though, she's in the right about what Tomas did and it's obviously pathetic that he can't admit it or whatever, but she also has this level of this kind of judgmental streak or this sort of puritanism that maybe is coming into play. And I thought that could have been explored. But then we don't really see that woman again.
Just disappears.
Yeah, she's on the bus at the end of the movie. In fact, and I wondered if this was symbolic, like when everyone panics and gets off the bus, she's the only person who stays on the bus. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that meant something or not.
Here's the thing with that sequence that you're talking about, and definitely want to revisit the bus sequence after. But the thing is, like earlier, she's asking to ski alone. Obviously, she's angry at Tomas. She wants some time for herself. And then, of course, Tomas, that little bitch, is like, I would also like to ski alone. It's like, shut the fuck up, Tomas. So, but when she is skiing alone, she is pooping in the woods. I don't know why we need to see that or whatnot. But she looks over and she
was just peeing, but okay.
It looked like a real number 2 to me, Josh. Dave, you want to break this tie?
You know what? I don't have an opinion on this. So we're just going to have to leave it up to the audience to decide.
Yeah, let us know. Piss or shit. But Josh, she's looking over and in the distance, she sees Tomas and the kids, right?
Yeah.
And you could see, well, she's unhappy with them, but she's longing for that, right? And she's on her own and that's not doing it. So that's what I would have liked to explore. Like, why is it, is she just in that rut herself of like, I can't get out of this and be happy no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, she even starts crying a little bit in that scene. So, right, I think there's stuff there that could have been explored further that's not just the repetition of what had been explored already, but he seems not to want to do that or not to get below the surface in a way there's a lot of scenes that on the one hand are long, but on the other hand end without you really resolving what the scene was about. And I think he's deliberately leaving a lot out, I guess maybe for the audience to fill in. But to me, it just meant that there wasn't anything to grab onto.
There wasn't, because who are you supposed to side with? Obviously, you side with her because he sucks. But like, where are we going with that? Because it is just so, as I was so proud of Dave on his recent podcast where he referenced Ozu and the circular language of Ozu. This is circular, but it might have needed some more edges, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have to kind of root for anyone. I mean, you can see that she's in the right about what Tomas did, and he's pathetic because he won't even just admit it and say it was wrong or that he panicked. On the other hand, I think going back to that scene with her and the woman in the open relationship, you get the sense that like, well, she's got her own issues, and I think it would be fine to come away from this movie thinking these people are both messed up in different ways. We don't need to root for anyone. We don't need to root for them as a couple. Maybe we root for the poor kids who are stuck in the middle. And there's so many scenes of them arguing where the kids can obviously hear. And you talked about the kids crying. And they're always like, oh, wait, don't wake up the kids. The kids have been awake. The kids heard everything you said. And there is that moment where Henry or Harry, whatever the son's name is, kind of bursts out like, I hope you and mom don't get divorced or something. Or I'm worried you're going to get divorced. So obviously this is taking a toll on them. We can judge the adults for that, but I just don't think there's enough to hang on to with any of
it. Dave, you're the only married one of the group, as we've established. What's the biggest lie you've told Gina to protect yourself?
Yeah, I would not admit to having ditched her at some like big disaster. Definitely not.
Really?
So, no, of course. I can't imagine even getting into that situation. But then again, who knows? You never know what's going to happen when you actually get into a situation.
Well, that was Matz's whole explanation. Yeah. Like we know he's a good guy. He loves you and he loves the kids. And sometimes in that fight or flight instinct, you don't make the right decision and everything. Yeah. So.
Dave, did you experience controlled avalanches when you were an avid skier?
No, I did smash up my face once though. So I hit some black ice on the way down the mountain and like, oh, this is bad. But yeah, no, none of that.
Made an improvement. Ayo, I'll be stupid.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
So Jason, do you want to get back to talking about the bus scene? This is the finale of the film. And I like, first I want to say that prior to that, we have a scene that to me seems like it would be the finale where they're skiing in these sort of whiteout conditions and it's tough. And Ebba essentially pretends, as far as I can tell, pretends to be like lost or injured so that Tomas can go rescue her and then prove somehow that he is the family protector and things will be okay. And that seems like that would be the resolution of the story. But then we get this whole very long final scene where they're all on the bus. And again, we see the woman in the open relationship. We see Mats and his girlfriend. Everybody is on this bus going away from the resort down this very twisty mountain road. And the bus driver does not know what he's doing, I guess, and keeps like backing up and turning around. And Ebba has a bit of a panic and says she's going to get off the bus. And inspires virtually everyone else on the bus to get off as well.
Yeah. So first off, and Dave, if you'll break this tie, I did not think that Ebba had set that up so Tomas could rescue her. I just took it as it was, like you said, whiteout conditions, and she was kind of drifted away, and he went and saved her in that regard. Dave, did you think it was a setup, or did you think that was a legitimate situation?
Yeah, I didn't really see it as a setup, so I'm not really quite sure. I'd have to watch it again, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, my impression was that the main reason I thought that is because we see him, he goes off and he finds her and he's carrying her back like she's injured. And he sets her down on the ground back where the kids are. And then he's like, oh, are you okay? And then she just gets up and walks off. Like she's obviously completely fine.
Well, it wasn't an injury. It was that she was lost in a panic whiteout situation.
Yeah, but then why is he carrying her like that?
Because she panicked, and he's the knight in shining armor there, Josh.
Right. Well, I know that. I mean, that's the chance for him to prove that he failed to do earlier. But to me, it seemed like this was her engineering it in order to sort of make everyone feel better.
So this is a perfect example of the Östlund repetition, right? Because that's the ending. He's now, quote unquote, let's say I'm right?
Yeah.
He's now redeemed himself in the eyes of his wife and the eyes of his family, and they're all there together. And we've started on the mountain and we're ending on the mountain, right? Let's say you're right. Okay, she's finally figured out a way to get past it, to, even if it's a lie, to kind of make their marriage whole again, right? So that's it. That's the movie. That's the end of it. This whole bus sequence, which we've never seen before, kind of the bus and the twisty turnies, and that's all. It's a repetitive beat, and it doesn't really make sense to the story because, like you said, that story ends there. What I would have done is you either do the bus or you do the whiteout. And if you're going to do the bus, it's not Ebba who demands they get off. It's Tomas who's like, my children are on this bus. My family's on this bus, but their safety is the most important thing. And, and then he's redeeming himself. But then again, it's the same beat. So you got to go one way or the other. As it is, they all get off the bus and then they walk and then that's the end. And then it's like, what's the point of this ending? I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, and much like the controlled avalanche that turns out to be not dangerous, the bus, I mean, the driver may be an idiot, but the bus is clearly not dangerous. Like we see the bus keeps going, and the open relationship lady who stays on the bus, she's going to get to her destination way before everyone else who got off and decided to walk down this extremely long road. I don't know why no one tried to call back to the lodge and tell them to send down a more competent bus driver, but that does not happen. And that is, I think, specifically also based on like a viral video about an incompetent bus driver, and people freak out about it or something. I didn't find or watch that, but good old Wikipedia says that. So, I don't know if he decided he wanted to recreate certain situations and thought about how they would fit into his narrative. But I agree with you. It does seem redundant. And also by that point, I was like, Jesus Christ, when is this movie going to be?
That's what I'm saying. If it ends 10 to 12 minutes earlier, is it much better? Maybe not. But what that last sequence brings it down. It doesn't bring it up, right?
It almost seems like it would have been a better intro, like just to kind of set the stage for the characters or something like that. Even it wouldn't have been unnecessary either way, but it almost would have worked better that way.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, we do see Mats and his girlfriend on the bus coming up to the lodge, and that it's this sort of twisty, turny road. But that's an intro to them in a very random way as well, right?
So that doesn't do much for me. But the movie should have ended before that, and that. I'm with you, Josh. Those last 10 minutes, you're just like, why is this still going? Like, we get it. Like,
I felt that way for longer than 10 minutes, but yeah.
But at least before those 10 minutes, you're like, okay, this is still part of the same story, right? Those last 10 minutes is like, here's our post-credit sequence that have nothing to do with the story, but we'll add it on in the end there. But instead of a post-credit sequence, we'll just put it here. So I don't know, man. It just I don't know why critics love this thing so much. You're all a bunch of idiots, Josh.
Well, I did not love it. Like I said, I even at the time it came out, and even less so now. So
you admit every critic but you's an idiot?
No. I would not call any of them idiots. I mean, they have their own opinions that are not my opinion, but that's fair. Should we what is the deal with the janitor guy who keeps watching them?
I mean, I kind of like, I like weird side characters. I think that's all that is just a dude who's got nowhere else to go, and he's a voyeur. And I don't mind, I didn't mind any of that. I thought okay, there's nothing to explore here except he's just a weird background player, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So Dave, you would not abandon Gina, is what you're saying if you were thinking.
I think she would be saving him, if we're going to be honest.
Most likely, yeah, absolutely. Only other thing I'd mention, you guys talked about it, but I mean that first scene where she's kind of recalling him running away, that's the only good part of the movie, I think. That dinner, I think, is the whole movie encapsulated in one scene. The rest of the movie is just unnecessary. But I really liked that scene, and I was like, oh, this is finally getting good. I think I was like about maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes in or something, 40 minutes in, finally getting good. And then it just goes back to nothing. So,
Yeah, I mean, again, we get that scene in a sort of more extended way later when Mats and his
yeah.
girlfriend show up. But
But it just doesn't matter at that point. It's like we already got it. And so now we're just kind of just treading water.
yeah, I mean, and even, I don't know, for me, even in that dinner scene, it was like, okay, I know what, I mean, maybe because I'd seen it before, but it's like, I know where this is going. I know what she's going to talk about. So, Jason, would you abandon your child in this
No, man.
avalanche situation?
No, that's like the only the rest of you guys, sure, but not her.
Okay. I am definitely running away and abandoning whoever I'm with. So maybe that's my problem. I identified too. I wouldn't deny it later on. I had identified too much with Tomas. I will say that I watched on YouTube like a 4-minute clip of the Seinfeld episode with a similar storyline where George Costanza runs away from a child's birthday party where there's a small kitchen fire, and he like bowls over these children and this old lady in a walker. And then he does later deny it, but in a very performative way that is obviously fake. And, you know, after all his bluster, I think the firefighter says to him, like, how do you live with yourself? And he's like, well, it's not easy. And I felt like that just is 4.5 minutes. And even the whole episode, which I'm sure includes like 4 other storylines, is only, 23 minutes. And it gets everything that this movie is trying to do and it's much funnier.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about the best sitcom of all time. So it's like, it's a high bar to set, but yeah, I mean, there's just, it's weird to be in such agreement as a group and so differentiated from the majority of people. So I'll be interested for our listeners to give us some feedback on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've had this. I mean, we just had this earlier this season with Winter Sleep, which was another highly, highly acclaimed film that we did not particularly connect with.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt you.
Please
mean,
do.
Winter Sleep is a Palme d'Or winner that's kind of lost to the annals of time, at least here in America. Force Majeure broke this dude into a much bigger thing and is a well-known piece of film here. So I don't think it's an exact comparison.
Maybe, but I mean, it's in terms of like critically acclaimed film that we did not connect with. And maybe that filmmaker is not as big a deal as Östlund. He's not making movies with Hollywood celebrities, but I mean, he's still a major international filmmaker who every movie that he releases plays Cannes and wins awards and things like that. So I think it is a similar thing. And it's certainly not the only time that this has happened with us, going back to, you mentioned Ozu, and we were mixed when we talked about him. So, we're often, we're iconoclasts when it comes to the consensus about certain acclaimed films.
We are a iconoclast, Josh, and I appreciate that about us.
I do indeed as well. So should we rate this out of 5 controlled avalanches?
Yeah, 5 controlled avalanches. I gave it 2.5 because of the excellent technical work and the few laughs I got out of it, plus Mats's beard and a weird janitor.
Yeah, he does have a great beard, that actor. So I gave it 2.5 when I first saw it, but I just could find very little to like about it this time. So 2 controlled avalanches out of 5 for me. Dave, how do you rate this?
2 from me as well.
Guys,
all right.
No news, guys. News. I looked up my Letterboxd review. I gave it 3. I think I'm overestimating this dude on Letterboxd. That's 2 movies I've downgraded him on the podcast, but I've given him bigger reviews on Letterboxd. So what's going on with me?
Yeah, well, and your Triangle of Sadness one was a while ago, but you just did that review for this like 2 days ago.
I don't understand. I'm having some conflicts with myself I have to work out.
Yeah, well, we'll let you resolve that, and we'll come back and talk about the legacy of Force Majeure. Welcome back to Awesome Movie Year. In this episode of our season on the films of 2014, we are talking about Ruben Östlund's Force Majeure. And as we've been saying, this movie kind of launched him as an international filmmaker. It won that sort of secondary prize at Cannes, but his next 2 films, The Square and Triangle of Sadness both won the Palme d'Or when they played at the Cannes Film Festival. Triangle of Sadness nominated for 3 Oscars, including Best Picture. He personally was nominated for Best Director and Best Screenplay. And he's got an extremely star-studded film coming up called The Entertainment System is Down, which, Jason, you're looking forward to?
I am, because it sounds like the perfect vehicle for what Östlund's trying to do. The passengers of a lengthy flight contend with their boredom as the plane's entertainment system is broken. However, what I don't understand is why none of these passengers, at least according to the logline, have laptops, iPads, iPhones to keep them entertained, books, things of that nature, Josh.
Yeah. I mean, I, on the other hand, feel like this sounds like such a one note, and I can envision the breakdown in, relationships among all these characters and the chaos. And it's going to be, there's going to be another fragile masculine, husband or something like that, or the rich people like in Triangle of Sadness. I just feel like I can envision everything that he's already done in these other movies playing out again, just with more famous people.
That's probably fair. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic, but
I mean, we'll see. We obviously have not. The movie has not been released yet, so we'll see how it turns out when it comes.
Now, Josh, you've seen Downhill, the American remake by Nat Faxon and Jim Rash, with Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Half hour shorter. You've seen that one, Josh?
I have, and I went back to my review to remember what I thought about it, and it is more overtly comedic. I mean, you have those two actors, not that they're not good at drama. I mean, we just talked about Nicole Holofcener's film You Hurt My Feelings with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she can definitely do drama, and Will Ferrell can too, but they certainly play up the comedy, and there's a lot more. They add in like more wacky supporting characters and stuff, but they also still stick to the story, the same story. And I mean, what I said at the time, and I don't remember it that well, but what I said at the time was that it's neither thing. It doesn't just make it into a crazy comedy, but it also doesn't work on a serious level. So it just seems like they kind of missed the point. Even if we didn't like this movie, they're not recreating it in any way that captures what people would like about it.
I'll pass on it then.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And it's the kind of thing that's like, it's a movie for no one, right? Because people who loved Force Majeure were not happy with it. And I think if you hadn't seen Force Majeure or didn't like Force Majeure like us, this movie just doesn't improve on it in any way or find a new angle on the same story that is worthwhile.
Should we talk about great ski movies?
We could. I had not thought about that. We, of course, covered Downhill Racer in an episode of Awesome Movie Year, although I think we were not particularly into that one either.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I always bring up is Better Off Dead. I love Better Off Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What about Ski School?
Ski School 2 is probably the better of the bunch, but Ski School, that's a fun one. And all those, there's probably a lot of those 80s like softcore ski patrol, so there's a lot like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen those. I did recently see, or somewhat recently see, a terrible slasher movie called Iced about people on a ski vacation who get murdered, and it's very
fun.
Very boring.
Well, I mean, there's also, like you had mentioned, like those kind of like Tony Hawk skateboard videos. There's a whole, or surf movies. There's a whole subgenre of actual ski movies that we haven't gotten to yet either.
Right. And I mean, I don't know if those early Ruben Östlund like documentary videos are available to watch anywhere, but it sounds like that's the way he started, with just filming actual skiers and, doing cool stunts and whatnot. And did you ever watch any of that stuff when you were a skier, Dave?
A lot of the 80s comedy ones, like I definitely like that stuff. And then I'll just shout out, not a movie, but the South Park episode that's essentially a parody of all of those 80s ski movies, which was a really fun episode.
Hot Tub Time Machine?
Hot Tub Time Machine is good, yes.
Yeah.
Not Hot Tub Time Machine 2, but the first one is a lot of fun.
Hot Tub Time Machine 2, would have made it better, right?
Yeah, mm-hmm. if you had written it, we know.
Well, you know, but Dave doesn't. I don't think.
I know.
I feel like this has come up before. Yeah.
I was close, guys. I was so.
We know. The main actors, Johannes Bah Kuhnke and Lisa Loven Kongsli, who play the main couple here. Mostly they're working. He's Swedish, does a lot of film, TV, stage work in Sweden, and she's Norwegian, does the same in Norway. She did appear as an Amazon warrior in the Wonder Woman movies and Justice League, but generally they're just kind of, working in their native countries. So not actors that we tend to see here in the US very much.
Brady Corbet's next movie is a 70s set horror Western that will have a looser style, but will tackle the immigration process, this time from China to California.
Yeah, I will watch The Brutalist someday, but I just disliked Vox Lux so much that I'm skeptical of Brady Corbet, and now
That's
that he's
silly.
super
You're silly.
acclaimed.
You're
So
a silly guy.
I'll check it out,
rules.
and maybe I will love it. We should say, Kristofer Hivju, who plays Mats with the great beard, he's also Norwegian and has worked in his native country, but he's the one who we know the most here in the US because, as you mentioned, Jason, he was on Game of Thrones for a long time. He's been in the Fast and Furious franchise, in Cocaine Bear. He played Krampus in Red One, the terrible Christmas action movie with The Rock. And he was in Downhill, although I think he plays a different character.
Well, I like him. What was his name in Game of Thrones? Torbind or something like that?
Yeah. He's not the mountain or the mound or the whatever.
No, he's not the mountain, but
yeah.
I'll look up his name.
He looks like a mountain man with that beard.
Yeah, he's isn't he in those commercials as well for like the travel gnome or something like that?
That sounds right. I don't know. I didn't look that part up, but
I'm looking up his Game of Thrones character.
Oh, okay.
Which is Tormund Giantsbane.
Giantsbane. I knew he had some sort of name that referenced his size. I mean, the mountain is like wasn't he played by two different guys who were both like strongman competitors or something, I think. So
well, that definitely the mountain was,
Yeah, that guy is real big. And Mats is normal size, but he does have a very big beard. And he's got a very manly presence. So
beard.
Yeah, that makes
Do you say that about me, Josh?
That you have a manly presence?
Yeah, and I got a beard and a manly presence. Do you say that?
I mean, your beard is nothing compared to Kristofer Hivju's.
Well, yeah, but in my wintry days, I can get it there. But
well,
what kind of presence do I bring to the table, though? That's really what I want to know.
I mean, affable.
I'll take that. I like that.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the stage version. That seems like it was not a success. It was put on in London in 2022 and did not progress from there. I did read the review in The Guardian. They gave it 2 stars, and it just doesn't seem like something that would translate well to the stage.
I could see it because of, like you said, in Downhill, they're using all these side characters and stuff. But at the same time, part of the best stuff in the film is like utilizing the setting, right? Which you could utilize the hotel here, but you can't really show skiing on a stage. Right?
Yeah.
Did the first few rows get hit with snow, like a Gallagher concert or something?
I hope so. I didn't see
that would be great if they controlled avalanched it to the first few rows or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. I think they mentioned some sort of like ski lift set in there or something.
Yeah, that's good.
It didn't sound like a good idea overall. And it didn't make it, it had one limited run 3 years ago and was never staged again. So did not really work out.
Nuts.
Anything else you want to say about the legacy of this film, Jason?
No.
Okay.
We're done.
That's
we've covered everything, man.
Let's go get some hot cocoa together in the lodge and we'll be done with the day.
Yeah.
That sounds
put our feet up and relax. Mm-hmm. That's Force Majeure, and that is this episode of Awesome Movie Year. You can passive-aggressively glare at us online and on social media.
And please let us know why you like this movie, because we missed it, obviously. We're at awesomemovieyear.com on the .com. We're at Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and Instagram. Still don't have a Twitter. I don't care if you do start a new party, Elon Musk. You're still a garbage person. I'm Jason Harris Comedy, or Jay Harris Comedy on all the socials. Go for Jason. You love it. You love it so much. Call me out on my review. Say, hey, you didn't do what you said you did. You did differently. Do that.
Okay.
And tag Awesome Movie Year if you watch the movie.
You can find some old stuff from me at joshbellhateseverything.com. I'm at Josh Bell Hates Everything on Facebook. at Signal Bleed on Blue Sky and on Letterboxd. And as Jason says, if you're on Letterboxd and you watch this movie or any of the movies that we talk about on the show, tag your review Awesome Movie Year. We would love to know what you think. And check out our producer, David Rosen's awesome podcast, Piecing It Together.
Check out Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. And also don't forget about our Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I've been posting advanced episodes of Awesome Movie Year, bonus stuff from Piecing It Together, and stuff from my music career. It's patreon.com/bydavidrosen.
Thank you to everyone, the hardy few who have signed up for that. And we are offering more, right? We've got all the early episodes. If you're listening to this on there, it's probably a few weeks before the episode is officially released. So, some stuff that you can check out there. Give it a shot.
That's right.
You sign up for the exclusive on the Patreon, you get to see Josh in a milk bath.
That is not true. And no one, you could pay extra to not see that, I think, is mainly what we're going to end up with. Jason, what's in our next episode?
Josh, everything's going to be awesome. It's our animation pick, the Lego Movie.
So tune in next time for the Lego Movie, and thanks for listening to Awesome Movie Year.
Thank you for listening to Awesome Movie Year. Make sure to follow Awesome Movie Year on Facebook, at Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter, and at Awesome Movie Year on Instagram. And if you like the show, review us and rate us with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's never good when you just scream at the listeners.
Josh, you don't understand. It's not screaming. It's an impression, and they love it, Josh.
Yeah, we'll see.